Hi everybody, it's Tammy. Come back into the kitchen. We're going to start to get another recipe prepared. I was just out for a walk with a friend, bundled up. It's really cold today. Beautiful dish. Look at this. Lots of nice colorful vegetables, some hummus, some crackers. Very yummy. Anyways, I'm going to eat that later. We're going to get to this first. So earlier today, what I did was I prepared some millet. Millet is an ancient grain, and it's a whole grain, and it's gluten-free. And so whole grains are really good to eat because they have lots of fiber in them. They have a lot of nutrients because they haven't been refined or processed and made into white grains like white rice or white flour. And they have a ton of taste. I love whole grains. I tend to like them a little more than the white versions or the processed versions, but I still eat some of those too. But I just try to get whole grains more often because they have a lot more nutrition and, again, a lot more taste. So I'm going to be using millet as the base. And millet, you cook it exactly like rice. So I took 1 cup of millet and I added it to 2.5, 3 cups of boiling water in a pot that had a tight-fitting lid. So once I threw the millet in, gave it a stir, put a pinch of salt in with it, and then let it cook for about 20-25 minutes. The one thing with millet though is that like rice, once you put the lid on, do not lift the lid. I repeat, do not lift the lid until the end of the cooking period. So yeah, if you lift it, then you'll cool the pot down and then it doesn't cook as nice. So keep that pot lid on for about 20-25 minutes, and then take it off the element. Just let it sit for a few minutes, like maybe 5 extra minutes, and then take the top off and give it a good mix, and it's usually fluffy, light, and beautiful. But if you lift the top, then it's not so much. Anyways, so that's my base. To my millet, I am going to add a protein. So I'm going to use these white kidney beans. And kidney beans can replace meat, right? They're a plant-based protein. And some of the latest healthy eating recommendations are to replace at least some of the meat in your diet, meat, fish, poultry, with plant-based sources. So beans, peas, and lentils are a good choice. White kidney beans, these ones were the ones that were in the can because I'm a little short on time today, so very convenient. I just take them out of the can, put them in a colander, rinse them off. My colander's back here. Rinse them in the sink, and then they're ready to go. So just gonna add that can right in there. Don't forget my millet doubled, so if I use 1 cup of millet, typically it's going to cook and it's going to give me about 2 cups worth of grain. So this is going to last me, this dish, for a few days for sure. So I'll be able to eat it for lunch or for supper, whatever. What else I'm going to add to this? I want some color and some flavor, so we got to add some vegetables. It's all about vegetables this week for sure. So I'm lucky enough to be a member of an online store we have. It's like an online farm store. So I bought some local rainbow carrots. So I actually fine shredded, so not big shreds, but the fine shred. I fine shredded 2 different colors. So I've got some purple carrot and some orange, and I'm going to add those in. And just in case you don't know, on a shredder, okay, this is the large shred. This is the fine shred, right? And this, those things that kind of poke out, those little pokey things, that is actually grating. So when a recipe asks you to grate something, this is the grating side. It takes a little longer to grate, but there you go. All right, so we got some great color. Now I've got some orange, I've got some white, I've got some purple, and I always have to add some green because it's all about sustainable cooking. So what I've done is I've just cut up a little bit of sugar snap peas, the ones that you just get in the grocery store in the package, because they're great for snacks. I love having them in the fridge. You just have to give them a good rinse. And then I can even have those with my hummus, which I'm going to probably do because I'm going to show you a little trick. When you get these sugar snap peas, there's sort of a string along this edge not the rounded edge, but more almost the flatter kind of edge. So I just grab one end, kind of pinch it, and then I just bring it down, and you see, you get a string. It's kind of a little bit tough, so you want to kind of take these strings off. So again, grab it at the end, pinch it, and just start to roll it across that flat part, and you get your little string off. And then you can just cut them up. But I'm going to have these with my hummus and my veggies, so I'm just going to add that to my plate next door. All right, so I've got some veggies. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to like lightly mix this in with my grain. Now my grain was actually cooling in the fridge. So once I cooked it in the pot, I put it in this nice flat baking dish, just so that I could spread it out and thin it out so it would cool down really quickly, because you don't want to keep food at a hot temperature for too long if it's just sitting out at room temperature, right? So this way, when I spread it out, I could actually put it in the fridge because it was nice and thin and it would cooled off really quickly. So I'm just going to, and you know what? I could have made the millet yesterday. So that's one thing. I could have been a little bit ahead and had that step even done before today. But I had some time this morning, so I took the 25 minutes, and I got it done then. Okay, so I've mixed that in lightly. You can see all my ingredients now are coming together. They look beautiful. This is a beautiful looking salad, so I'm eating with my eyes here. So I've got lots of veggies, I've got a protein source, and I've got my grain. So if you think of that balanced plate, half your plate should be veggies, so those are mixed in. A quarter of it can be your protein, and I'm using a plant-based protein today. And the other quarter can be your grain. So here it's millet today. Now, what am I going to do? There's flavor in this for sure. There's flavor from the vegetables, but I think what I'm going to do to bump up the flavor is I'm just going to put a simple vinaigrette over it. So it's almost like a salad in a sense, but it's a much heartier salad, okay? So what I've done is I've measured out about a quarter cup of olive oil, and I'm going to pour this into just like a mason jar. And you know what? I'm going to get out one of my most favorite and essential tools in the kitchen, the spatula, and just get that out of there. So just something about cooking and preparing. Whenever you're measuring out liquid ingredients, you should be using a glass measuring cup. That's the proper tool to use to measure liquids, or even semi-liquids, like say I had to pour out a cup of honey for something. I would use glass, okay, for liquids and semi-liquids. If you're measuring out something solid like millet or the beans or any veggies or whatever, you use the dry measures, okay? That's the proper tool to use. Anyways, so we've got our quarter cup of olive oil. Now, usually most vinaigrettes are 2 parts oil to 1 part acid. So my acid today is going to be, I'm using apple cider vinegar as my acid, but you can use other things. You can use lemon or lime juice or even orange juice if you want. It doesn't have to be a vinegar, but there are so many different kinds of vinegars, and I love apple cider vinegar, so I'm going to use this. So typically, like I said, it's 2 parts oil to 1 part acid when you're making a vinaigrette, but I personally find it a little too oily for my tastes, right? So, you know, the lovely thing about cooking is you can make the food according to your taste. So I like mine 1 to 1. So if I do a quarter cup of oil, I'm going to do a quarter cup of vinegar. And when I'm pouring out a quarter cup, I got to get down and look straight at my measuring cup so that I can see that I'm at the quarter cup mark. So that's what I did. I'm going to add that to my mason jar. And I'm using a mason jar just because if I don't want to whisk this, I can just shake it. I'm going to add hot sauce. I just need a little bit of heat. So I've got my oil, I've got my acid, I got a little bit of heat. Now I need something sweet. So again, when it comes to the sweet component, you can use a lot of different things. Brown sugar has a lot of taste in it, so brown sugar is sometimes the sweet I use. Maple syrup, I love maple syrup, and I am from Northern Ontario, so maple syrup is definitely in my fridge. But today I'm going to use some liquid honey, because I just feel like it. So I'm going to measure out about a tablespoon. I like to measure that out. I'm going to put that in there, get my handy dandy spatula to get my honey out of my measuring spoon. So about a tablespoon. I am also going to put in some Dijon. Sorry, I'm getting that all over the place. A little squirt of Dijon because, again, the Dijon's got wonderful flavor. It's also a little bit of acid. I love acid. And a little bit of garlic granules. Now, I could use fresh garlic for sure, but guess what? I don't have fresh garlic, so I'm not going to use it. I'm just going to use a little bit of garlic granules. The only thing is when I'm putting in a dried spice, just a word of warning that when you first make this dressing, it might taste a little raw. So as this dressing sits on this salad for a few hours, then it's going to mellow a little bit. But you know what? I like garlic too. Also going to add just a pinch of salt because you know what? There was a little bit of salt in my water when I cooked my my millet. And of course, always pepper. Gotta have some pepper. So a little bit more flavor by putting in some black pepper. Now, I'm going to just put my lid on. Now, if I want to whisk it, if you're a whisker, go for it, whisk it. But today, I'm going to shake it. Shake it. You can shake your salad dressing, it's okay. Won't hurt it. Okay, that's that. So then I'm going to take it very quick. This is so quick and easy. This is the way to cook. You want it to be quick and easy. I'm going to get out my spatula, make sure I get all that goodness out of the jar. Put it over top of my salad and mix it in. Now, I know you're not here right now, but this really smells good. That dressing smells really good. Now, I didn't taste my dressing. You know why? Because I've made it 1,000 times. And I know it's going to taste good. When you're first maybe learning to do vinaigrettes or putting a vinaigrette together and figuring out what you like, give it a little taste. Get a clean spoon, get a little taste and say, you know, it might need a little more whatever, sweet, a little more oil, a little more acid, maybe another squirt of Dijon. Maybe you want to put even something different. Maybe you want to put some onion into it, some onion powder, or maybe you want fresh onion in your salad. That's even better, more veggies. Maybe you want a little bit of Italian seasoning or a little bit of turmeric, like whatever, it's up to you. The wonderful thing about a homemade dressing is that you can make it your own. And you can put in those flavors that you really love. Okay, so I've tossed this in. Typically, I would, let this sit for about 2 hours at least. That's why I like to make this kind of stuff ahead. Because then, the flavors really get to meld and come together. And you know what? To be quite honest, some of these veggies that I used today were not only local, which means I saved on food miles, so saved on energy being spent there. Some of these veggies were actually veggies I was trying to get rid of. So I had a whole load of carrots, so I wanted to put some carrot in this so I could use up some of my carrots. And that is another thing about sustainable eating, is that you really want to try to avoid food waste, because wasting food is bad for a lot of reasons. One of the biggest ones is that when organic waste goes into the landfill, gets tossed out, it produces methane gas, and methane gas is a very powerful greenhouse gas. So we want to try to avoid throwing food out. And I guess another really good thing is when you don't throw out food, you're not wasting your money. So yeah, you get to save money and you get to save the planet at the same time. And we waste a lot of food. A lot of food gets wasted. So it's time to try to use up what we have. But I'm going to give you all kinds of tips as we go along through these videos on how to save you money, how to save the planet, how to be healthy, all kinds of culinary tips. So, be sure to check out all my videos. Anyways, I'm just going to give this a little taste now because you know what? I love food. So let's see. Let's see how I did here. Lots of flavor. This is amazing. And it took no time at all really to put together. And this hasn't even sat yet. Just wait. 2 hours from now, I'm going to be over the moon. Anyways, I hope you've enjoyed this video. Great stuff. Try this recipe.